Thank you and good afternoon. Welcome to the Neighborhood Partnership Fund Board meeting. Items listed on the agenda may be taken out of order, presented. Two or more agenda items for consideration may be combined, and any item on the agenda may be removed or related to for discussion may be delayed at any time. Backup material for the agenda may be obtained from Luann D. Holmes, City Clerk, at the office of the City Clerk, 495 South Main Street, second floor, or on the city's web page at www.lasvegasnevada.gov. Roll call.
Chair Quinn.
Here.
Vice Chair Tramp.
Here.
Member Jackson Render.
Here.
Member Whittingham.
Here.
Member Bautista.
Here.
Member Evans. Excused. Member Hubble.
Present.
Member Flank.
Here.
Member Lalone is excused. Member Beers.
Here.
Member Becker.
Here.
Member Petrilli.
Present.
Member Alvarez. Here. Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Regarding public comment during the portion of this agenda must be limited to the matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. Now we have a report by Ann Kilponen, Senior Neighborhood Outreach Specialist, regarding the Neighborhood Partners Fund Program Guidelines.
Chair, I'm sorry. We skipped over number 2, but we are in compliance with the open meeting law.
Oh, sorry, I blew it.
That's okay.
All right. And now we have Ann. Thanks, Ann.
The Neighborhood Partners Fund heard presentations from 13 applicants at their board meeting on June 5th, 2023. At today's meeting, the board will deliberate and make funding recommendations for each application. Those funding recommendations will be presented to the mayor and city council for possible approval at the July 19th city council meeting. Funding for each application is limited. Applicants may not apply for more than $5,000. Some applicants requested less than the maximum amount for their project. In addition, the Neighborhood Partners Fund program guidelines require that associations provide a match that meets or exceeds their grant request. A minimum of 25% of the match must come from volunteer labor, valued at $29.95 this year. The remainder of the match can be from volunteer labor, in-kind donations, and/or cash. The Neighborhood Partners Fund Board requested additional information and clarification from some of the applicants at its June 5th board meeting. The Neighborhood Partners Fund applicant summary sheet has been amended to reflect the information submitted by the applicants. As specified in the Neighborhood Partners Fund program guidelines, board members scored the applications prior to today's board meeting. The board has discretion in how it utilizes the scoring in its deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Discussion regarding the utilization of scoring the fiscal year 2023-2024 Neighborhood Partnership Fund applications. Should we start with number 1, Buffalo?
Chairman,
Yes.
I'll defer to Ann here, but I think this is specific to discussing scoring and how maybe to use it.
Okay.
Then once we discuss and close this item, I think 6 is where we're going to actually go through from 1 to
Okay.
12 or whatever.
I'm sorry, Ann. I was trying to push it to the curb.
So, Chairman, I would just suggest asking if anybody has any questions or comments regarding the utilization of the scoring, and if not, just go on to item 6.
Okay. If anyone has any questions for Ann or for City Attorney Jim Lewis, now's the time to ask them. Sir.
I don't have a question relating to that, but I want to get on the record. My recusing from a particular
Hold on, excuse
organization.
me, Chairman. Can we save that for the next item, please?
Yeah.
It's best if it's on with that same item. Excuse my
I
interruption.
think the chair pointed because my light was on.
Chairman, if there are no other questions, maybe you move on to 6.
Thank you.
And then that would be the appropriate time for your disclosure, sir.
We're starting out with the Beverly Green Neighborhood Association. That's the first one on my list. Is that correct?
Chairman, if you could just read in number 6 for us real quick.
Okay. On to number 6, discussion for possible action regarding the recommendations of funding for fiscal year 2023 and 2024 Neighborhood Partnership Fund projects. So we'll begin our discussion now and talk about their presentations and money allotted or not allotted.
And Madam Chair, before we begin, Board Member Peter Whittingham, I want to get on the record again, as I did in our initial discussion, my association with the Buffalo Coalition Neighborhood Association. I live in the community represented by that organization. I'm an active participant in that organization. As a result, I have and will recuse myself from any discussion or vote having to do with the Buffalo Neighborhood Coalition. I will add, and suffice it to say that in spite of my recusing myself from the Buffalo Coalition, my involvement with the Buffalo Coalition, that does not in any way impair my judgment or my objectivity in participating in and voting in any of the other applicants for a fund before this board.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman, that is certainly adequate. Thank you very much, sir. I think Member Alvarez has a disclosure as well.
Yeah, Member Alvarez, representative for Ward 3. I live in the John S. Park neighborhood and am not involved with the neighborhood association that presented before us, but however will recuse myself as well from that application.
And is it fair to say that your independence of judgment is not affected, so you're going to be voting on the other items?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That is adequate.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to be moving on to our discussion of the projects that were presented in front of us. The first one is the Beverly Green Neighborhood Association, eligibility category, neighborhood engagement. The project will be a celebrate for our community and neighbors so that they can come together as a neutral neighborhood location. We have not had the opportunity to do this on our neighborhood since the pandemic. Additionally, we will see this as a way to embrace and involve our newest neighbors and also honoring our longtime residents here. 437 households will be invited to participate. The Historic Beverly Green Neighborhood Association held various meetings with stakeholders, neighbors, and board members, along with input from other neighborhood leaders to assess how the best way to utilize the NPF grant. After several ideas proved to be unfeasible, and with neighborhood support, we have decided to signature celebration to our neighbors in a neighborhood is the best way to bring everyone together. This is again the Beverly Green neighborhood. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I will open it up to discussion of my colleagues.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to at this time then, if there's no discussion, to move a motion to approve. I just want to check with Gina. They are eligible for $5,000, correct? Which they requested, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'm sorry. Record Matthew Tramp, Ward 1. So my motion is to approve the recommendation to City Council to fund Beverly Green Neighborhood Association in the amount of $5,000.
Okay, first, I have a question about this.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Your
It's
name
okay,
for the
Brian,
record,
for the
please.
record, Brian Hubble for the record. I noticed that they have a bartender, or they want to pay for a bartender. So I'm assuming they want to get alcohol and they're requesting $1,200 from Costco. Does the city have a prohibition for paying for liquor for these parties?
That's a very good question.
Well, I'm going to start off answering the question. I'm going to give it to Ann, the program administrator. The answer specific to that regarding the guidelines is there's no prohibition in the guidelines themselves, and so I think this is a matter. You'll get some information from Ann, and then it's a matter for this board. The fact of the matter is, at this time, we don't know whether the money is just going. We don't know where the money is going to, it is a supposition, but a good supposition, a good guess that maybe that money will be used for alcohol at Costco because they are also paying for bartender, but we don't know that for certain. But anyway, my part of this is just to say that there is no prohibition in our guidelines right now for the use of the money on alcohol, but it's certainly something that is within your discretion as we move forward on these items. Ann?
Yes, Ann Kilponen, Senior Neighborhood Outreach Specialist with Neighborhood Services Department. Yes, I concur with the city attorney that there's nothing within the program guidelines that would prohibit their purchase of alcohol or through the city, but if we come across subsequently that there is an issue, then that money will not go towards that particular purchase.
Okay.
Sir, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Me? Matthew Tran for the record. They would need a special use permit to have alcohol at this party, correct? They would have to apply a permit.
Chairman, if I may. Yeah, the answer is they're going to need to go through our business license division and make sure they're properly permitted. If they can have alcohol of this nature, then permitted by the city, then they can have it. They can have it. If they don't qualify, then they're not going to get the authorization they need. So I'm not sure if that alcohol in the past, I know this is kind of a recurring one, but the answer is yes. Any approval by you doesn't absolve them from any of our other city requirements.
Thank you. Sir?
Member Whittingham, I was just going to touch on a point that the city attorney mentioned in his closing about whether or not there have been the use of alcohol, the service of alcohol in past events. And I remember, and the staff can confirm this, that in previous events, not only this organization but the others that include the service of alcohol, of course, as part of their recreational event. So as long as they obtain the appropriate permit and act in accordance with all of the provisions and the laws relating to the service of alcohol and to adults and not minors, I suspect there's not much objections we can take at this point. In fact, since I have the mic, I would just add my comments to the vice chair who moved to vote for it as part of the conversation. I listened to the presentation. I know this organization, and from their past experience and for the past performance and the past events, it's just a wonderful event that they're planning, and I want to second the motion as moved by the vice chair.
Thank you. Brian, does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, that answers my question.
Ms. Dana?
Member Becker, I just wanted to comment that when we were filling out the scoring for this neighborhood, I actually lowered the amount that I thought should be given because the other neighborhoods that are hosting a gathering such as this also have an added element like a cleanup or a safety presentation or something like that. And so I had lowered the amount to $4,000. I don't know if everybody can see everybody's scores. I don't believe so. I don't know if there's a discussion for that, but I would just like to note on the scoring that was handed out, this organization received the second to lowest number, and I just would like to point out that I had put in $4,000, not $5,000, to fund this party.
Thanks, Liz. I'm sorry I called you Dana. I don't know why I do that. It's okay. Down here, somebody's got to say something else. Tanya, do you have something to say? I guess, so if it has Member Quinn, if it has a special use permit attached to it, therefore the city, would the city be liable if there was accident or injury or, you know, or DUI coming out of there? I mean, does the SUP trump that, so, or give it merit?
Chairman, it's a wonderful question. I mean, at the end of the day, we have one of our homeowners associations coming forward with an event that they hold on a fairly regular basis. They've come to this board before. The question about liability depends solely upon the facts. The only fact that we know now is that they've applied for some money through an independent grant. If they get it, they will receive this grant of money from the city to do with it as they please. Now, as they please is that if, let me try to see what I'm saying. As you please, what that means is they're constrained by what it is they applied for, right? So, but this is, once we give them the money, they spend it in accordance with what they told us they would spend. So can I sit here and opine today whether or not there could be a lawsuit if something bad happened? Well, there's going to be a lawsuit no matter what, period, end of story. If a kid gets run over, or an adult, a pedestrian gets run over, whether there's alcohol or not, they're going to say, the personal injury attorney that is hired will say that the city caused this event to happen and therefore they're the deep pocket that should pay. Well, the fact of the matter is, we're granting up to $5,000 for HOAs to do one of many things with. Do I think there could be a lawsuit if there was or not alcohol at an event like this? Sure. Do I think that the addition of the potential for alcohol, remember, we don't know if alcohol is being bought or not. We know that there's a bartender. They might be buying the alcohol with their own money, right? I mean, we don't know. But your question was solely, is there liability? A lawsuit is always a possibility. Liability, I can't sit here and tell you unless we know exactly what happens. But the fact of the matter is, our guidelines don't specifically state that they can't buy certain items, but you all get to make that determination today. There's a motion on the floor to grant $5,000 to the Beverly Green Neighborhood Association, and I would suggest one of two actions right now. One of three actions. One, you call for the question and vote on the item as it was made, the motion was made. Two, the motion maker has heard what you've had to say and amends his motion. Or three, he decides to withdraw the motion and then someone else can make a motion. But right now there's a motion on the floor. And so we probably ought to, if the motion maker would like, call for the question. But Chairman, you're entitled to have as much conversation about this as you want. I'm not directing you in any manner to
Right.
call for the question, but that's one of three options. Did I answer your question, by the way?
You absolutely did, but this has never come up before us. Like, this is, it's perked my interest.
I will say this, that if city staff were taking one of the city credit cards out,
Right.
there would be a prohibition on the purchase of alcohol. Because they're called P cards. Our purchase cards are not allowed to be used for the purchase of alcohol. Does that mean that the city can't grant money to an HOA through this program that doesn't have a prohibition against alcohol? That's a really good question. But I can tell you this, I understand that this and other HOA block parties have had alcohol in the past. The question just has not been asked. It has been now, which is a fair question to ask, so it's up to this board now to make a determination, unless we hear from Ann now, who may have talked to someone or emailed someone to find out if there's a full city prohibition on grant giving for the purchase of alcohol. If she has, then we've got another conversation to have. But I don't believe that we have that. Ann?
Hi, this is Ann Kilponen with Neighborhood Services Department. First of all, just to clarify, this is a neighborhood association, not a homeowners association, just for point of clarification. But in certain circumstances, if we've run into situations where we're unable to purchase something because of city regulations, then it doesn't get purchased. As Mr. Lewis explained, there are some limitations in terms of use of our purchase cards, that we cannot purchase alcohol with them. If there are other restrictions that can't be met, then that will not be part of their project, essentially.
Let me ask a question. This is Member Petrelli. Just for clarification, if alcohol is a concern to this board, can the board vote affirmatively for the action subject to stipulation that alcohol not be served?
Yes, absolutely, Chairman, if I may. The decisions on each one of these applications is completely within the discretion of the board, subject to the guidelines that we've got that were produced by our department and approved by this board. So, if the motion maker would like to amend his motion, he may, to include, not include, any option that he chooses, he may. He may withdraw his motion. He may say, no, I want the motion to move on as it stands. But there is a live motion that we have to do something with. But the answer to your question is, certainly, you can say 5,000, but not for alcohol. And then they can decide if they're going to supplement, if they're going to segregate the city's 5,000, spend it on things in their application that are non-alcohol related, and then use their matching funds or whatever else they're spending on the alcohol itself. As a reminder, there is no prohibition in our rules today with regard to alcohol. So I'm not advocating one way or another. All I'm saying is that, unfortunately, this decision comes to you. Did I answer your question,
Madam
sir?
Chair.
Can I?
Yes, thank you for the clarification. I just wanted, and I think you answered it directly in the sense that that's exactly what I was going for. When we make a motion, we can have that motion stipulate certain things that would be excluded, if that's what we want to do.
Right.
So if alcohol is a concern to this board, if the person,
If
the member who made the motion would want to bring it forward and stipulate no alcohol spending, so be it.
Can I?
Matt?
This is Member Whittingham. And maybe this is something that the city attorney may want to rule on. The extent of the authority of this board, especially since there are other ordinances that governs the use of alcohol at different events, does the authority of this board, which is simple to approve or deny the award, extend to monitoring or, in fact, infringe upon any other provisions of the ordinance that may direct the use of? And if the applicant conforms with other regulations that relate to the party, relate to sound, how loud the sound should be, or where the sound should be, or how late it should be, and certainly use of alcohol, if that's the case, does the authority of this board extend to interfere with those other separate ordinances which govern those the conduct of those activities?
Yeah, Chairman, the answer is yes. This board has the ability to approve applications, to assign conditions to the applications, to the receipt of this money. If this board decided, even though the project guidelines don't prohibit the use of money for that, if this board wants to prohibit the use of this money for alcohol, they may. The fact of the matter is, they're going to show us the receipts for what they spent, right, Ann? Let's get some clarification from the program, from the department.
Hi, this is Ann Kilponen with the Neighborhood Services Department. It appears that the the city cannot use funding to purchase alcohol. This isn't a... Oh, wait.
It's not a city purchase, that's, can I mention that?
Well,
Brian, great question, by the way.
I'm really sorry about that. Looks like we're getting some clarification from our neighborhood, from Kathy Thomas Gibson. Oh, Arcelia. She's our Deputy Director of Community Services. This board is part of that group. The bottom line here is this. We have a grant program. We have program guidelines. This money comes from the general fund. There are no federal, state rules that apply. Our program rules apply. However, one other fact, our program rules do not prohibit the spending of the money that we grant to them on alcohol. However, this board has the authority and the ability to place conditions on the receipt of this grant. So if you believe or know that alcohol will be purchased with this money and you would like to subtract that amount from the grant, remember, we've got a motion outstanding for $5,000. So we got to remember that. But if we decide to make a change or that motion gets voted down, you may apply a condition at your discretion. But what I understand from the Deputy Director of Community Services, what I understand from the program guidelines I have before me, is that also if we decide to make this independent grant of money to this neighborhood association for a block party, then they're spending it on the way they want to spend their money. Does that make sense? I'm sorry that this has taken so long to explain, but we did want to get some clarification from up above, because God forbid Ann walks back to her desk and finds someone waiting there for her to talk to her about the use of our money for alcohol. Again, if the city were going out and buying booze, that would be prohibited. We cannot. This is not the city going out to do anything. This is the city board, you guys, looking at a grant application and deciding if it's appropriate for this neighborhood association to spend our money that they get from us on certain things. And you may think all 5,000 is great and we don't have any issue whatsoever with what they're spending money on. But you may. And so you can go ahead and restrict the use of that money if you so choose. Have I talked enough for you guys yet?
No.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Are you guys, Ann, are we okay with what I've said? If not, go ahead and say it.
No, this is Ann Kilponen with Neighborhood Services Department. Yes, since I listened through your entire presentation, yes.
Okay, so it sounds like the Attorney's Office and the department are in agreement on the advice that we've given. And I would ask you now to either have more discussion, have a vote on the motion, or either withdraw the motion, and those, I guess, are your three choices.
Madam Chair?
Sir.
I'd like to withdraw my motion and then open up for another member to provide an alternative motion. So.
Member Becker, I would like to motion to approve the recommendation to City Council to fund Beverly Green Neighborhood Association the amount of $4,000 with the condition that they purchase their alcohol with their own funds, because they currently did not have any matching funds in their application. They only had volunteer hours. So I would move that we give them $4,000 and they use their own funds for purchase of alcohol and to pay the bartender.
Okay, I want to clarify, because the bartender at the end, I'm not clear if that was a prohibition on the alcohol and the bartender, or if it's prohibition just on the use of money for alcohol. Sorry to be a nitpicky lawyer, but I just want to make sure it's clear.
No, that's okay. Member Becker, I just included the bartender because they had not used any of their own money, so I figured they could use their own money to pay for the bartender, since that's all wrapped up with the alcohol.
Okay, very good. So just so I can make sure it's clear for the record and Cheyenne here, the clerk's office, it sounds like you moved to grant $4,000 with a prohibition on the use of any of that $4,000 on alcoholic beverages or a bartender.
That's correct, Member Becker.
Thank you very much.
Great motion. And I just want to say before we vote, you know, we don't want to set a precedent where next year 20 people come and think, well, they got booze, let's, you know, go for the $1,200 worth of booze. So I think this is something that Brian brought up so eloquently and so wisely, has to be nipped in the bud right here, right now. So with that, your motion is for approval.
This is Member Whittingham. I don't want to prolong the conversation, but I just feel compelled to add a comment to, in fact, the last comment that the chair made regarding precedents. And the question may be for for staff. Based upon the fact that other organization has in the past used alcohol or add alcohol as part of their event, and it has never before, would it be more appropriate for, if this is it's going to be a condition, that the staff include that in future application or conditions, that at least alert the members that the board may, or the board reserve the right to
Madam Chair, point of order.
Sure.
Yes.
You need to, my colleague needs to stick to the actual agenda item. We're not here right now to discuss policy. And, you know, we are not here to make a presentation for the remaining applicants, that he has to stick to the actual agenda item that's discussed. We're not here right now to discuss policy for future, so.
Again, as part of the discussion, the points that I am trying to include are directly, specifically related to the action, or the question, or the discussion pertaining to alcohol and the use thereof at an event for which we are approving the fund. And so for precedence and for fairness, the question was whether or not this is a matter that the staff could address in the future, since this is new for this board to oppose for the use of alcohol, and the question is whether or not that should be a matter that the staff discuss with potential applicants.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the floor from Liz Becker. Could you repeat your motion one more time, please?
Sure, Member Becker. I motion to approve the recommendation to City Council to fund Beverly Green Neighborhood Association in the amount of $4,000, with the condition that the applicant use their matching funds to fund the alcohol that they purchase, as well as the payment of the bartender.
Yeah, and I'll just add that it's a prohibition against the use of any fund of the $4,000 for alcohol or a bartender.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 All against, say no. Hearing nobody, this passes with the $4,000 going on to City Hall on...
And Chairman, I might say that staff did hear Member Whittingham's request, and I'm sure that'll be discussed when there's a chance with the department.
Great. Again, Brian, thank you for that question. You brought something to light that we really have never thought of. I've sat here a couple years, and thanks for pulling that out and bringing it to our attention. Anyway, okay, now we're moving on to the Buffalo Coalition Neighborhood Association, 2 engagement events and neighborhood beautification. This project has 3 components. Number 1, 2 social events, and number 2, the purchase of tools to facilitate our monthly trash cleanup activity. The number of people and homes will be impacted with the social events has increased each of the last 5 years. We had approximately 26 participants in 2018, 58 residents and 9 visitors from nearby neighborhoods in fall of 2023. Our project was selected during 2 meetings with neighbors. For the first part of our project, we are asking to grant funds to offset costs for the annual fall block party and spring ice cream social. 6 years ago, we had our first block party, and we were able to provide for our own tables, chairs, lights, and food. Happily, each year, more neighbors are participating, and we are involved with the planning, set, and takedown of the event. Our spring ice cream social is held in the effort to encourage continued involvement and education in our neighborhood watch program. We had 64 participants at the event last year, with retired neighborhood police tool officers sharing safety information. For the second part of our grant project, we are asking for funds to purchase tools to assist in our monthly trash pickup. These tools include folding wheeled metal carts, baskets, metal trash grabbers with rubber tips, safety cones, gloves, and trash bags. At our April 1st, 2023 cleanup, we had 15 neighbors participate. The number of people and homes impacted by keeping the neighborhood clean is immeasurable. With that being read, is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this one? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment and open it up to my members, our members, the city's members. Seeing none, make a motion.
Madam Chair, Matthew Tramp, Ward 1. I move a motion to approve, read this right, to approve the recommendation to City Council to fund $5,000 to the Buffalo Coalition Neighborhoods Association.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All that want to say no, go no.
Let the record reflect that I, Member Whittingham, have recused myself from participating in the discussion relating to this particular organization and funding.
Okay, thank you. That motion passes and will be heard at City Hall in the next couple weeks. Thank you. Jim, do you want me to read all this stuff in here?
I really think that's up to you. I mean, the item is discussion for possible action regarding the recommendation for funding of neighborhood partner fund projects. These are the projects. I think it's certainly acceptable just to, within this item, read the name of the association, and then maybe if you want to read it, great. If you don't, and nobody else wants it read, then everybody can just kind of follow along. If somebody decides they would like it read in, they can let you know.
I just know that look on your face.
No, I have no look on my face. Come on.
Moving on.
Oh, boy.
Jim. Okay, moving on to number 3 is Community Crusaders at the Meadows Neighborhood Association. This is for public safety items and community engagement. This is the one that held the Oktoberfest and had a great time in September 2023. There are 55 plus in this neighborhood, 338 homes, gated community with a committed volunteer team of nearly 40 people. That being said, is there anyone here to speak on this item? No. See no one, I close it and I open it up to our members.
This is Member Whittingham. May I suggest, and if there's another way to do it, then I'll hear from the city attorney, but may I suggest, in light of the vote by our member not to have the allocated funds purchase any alcohol, we make that a blanket request from the other organizations for the event not to use any of the fund approved to purchase alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, Chairman, I would just say that that's certainly up to this board, and so anybody that wants to make a motion that wants to include a prohibition of that nature is certainly able to do so.
My granddaughter. Okay, with that being said, do I have a motion on the floor? Did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Should I form that in a motion?
I think he wanted to say something first, my mistake.
Is your motion for the grant?
No, the motion, if I may, to put it in a form of a motion, I moved that in light of the vote from this board to prohibit the use of any approved funds for the purchase of alcohol beverage for for the Beverly Glen unit, that we also make that a blanket prohibition for all the organizations for the allocated funds.
Okay, Chairman, that's my fault. I wasn't exactly clear. What we need to do is, if we want to prohibit alcohol in any given application, we need to do that by condition. Yes, sir, it has to be individual.
Individual.
So we probably shouldn't just do a blanket motion for all of these.
Right.
What we should do is, if on this one there happens to be a block party or something that might have the use of alcohol, then what I would suggest is a motion to approve a grant in the amount of X dollars with a prohibition against spending any of that grant money on alcoholic beverages. Something of that nature on each of the items that may in fact use alcohol.
Yeah.
Member Flank, I think we've gotten to the point, because this issue was brought up, trying to cover it with a blanket can't do that. We have other activities that are happening. We would be speculating if there would be alcohol or not at a block party. Now, this case, they said something about a bartender. We suspect that a bartender would be serving alcohol. But to say that for all of the organizations would be unfair. I don't think that kind of prohibition is something that should be discussed for the other neighborhood groups, because we don't know that.
That is within the purview.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Sir.
Okay. We have to, the agenda item is for this neighborhood, and we're going to have to go through each neighborhood. If the neighborhoods have block parties, then we have to include that provision, but this one does not. I believe this is a neighborhood safety program. There is no block party or anything involved in it, so that's, the issue's not relevant for this, but like I said, we cannot just make a policy right now about the prohibition of alcohol. We have to have that vote on each individual neighborhood, so. And
No, they're having a party too.
Member Flank,
does it say on that? Maybe I'm reading it wrong.
just because they're having a party, we cannot assume that there's going to be alcohol.
Again.
So,
If it's
Chairman,
not stated in their application about alcohol or adult beverages or a bartender, that should not even be discussed with the rest of the applications.
This is helpful for the record. Can I just make a clarification of why I said that about Beverly Green? One, they said they wanted a bartender, and then they also said they want to spend $1,200 at Costco, but they did not provide an itemized list of that. Leads us to assume these other applications, they don't talk about bartenders. Yes, there's Oktoberfest, but you know, they're not asking money for a bartender, and we don't, you know, and I don't even think, like on their itemized list, it's for food. Yeah, it's just like food and stuff. Like they don't even list alcohol or talk about alcohol. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, Chairman, if I could just jump in here real quick. The fact of the matter is, this board has a discretion to condition the approval of grants, as I've discussed in previous items. The question as to whether or not to include a condition or not regarding the prohibition of alcohol will be up to whoever makes a particular motion on a particular item. And so Ms. Flank Member Flank has indicated that she herself doesn't think that we should be making these individual motions, and that's fine. Some others of you may think differently, but that's why we have a board of the many that we do, because we all may have some differing opinions, and the way we usually settle this is somebody makes a motion, and then we vote on it, and then if it fails, or if there's a lot of discussion and it's withdrawn, then we make a different motion. But before you can make a motion for some number of grant dollars, and if you decide that you want to add conditions that are related to those grant dollars, you may.
Member Flank, for all of these activities, this is a question for legal. Permits are required, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
In those permits, these types of questions and issues are covered with regards to, is there alcohol at your event, correct?
Well, when you ask a question, permits are required, correct? The answer I was giving was specific to alcohol service. And the answer is, if a particular block party event wants there to be alcohol service, there is a process by which they go through at our business license division to either get alcohol approved or not approved. And there's requirements there's a bunch of requirements I'm not gonna list here, but there are requirements they have to meet with. And if they meet the requirements and pay the fees and have the appropriate bartenders and the other things that our code requires, they then can serve alcohol. But the answer to your question is yes. If they spend money, or if they want to have alcohol at their outdoor event on their public right-of-way, they have to get a permit.
Thank you.
Member Tanya.
I just have a question, not to belabor this. How would we actually know if they purchased alcohol?
So that's a really good question. The answer is, I suppose we have to trust that people tell us what they're going to do. But if we didn't ask the question, we wouldn't know, right? So the question is now being asked, and that's a perfectly fair question to be asked. Now, if there is a conditional prohibition on the service of alcohol, and then they go ahead and use our money to buy alcohol, I guess we'll know that for the next time they ask for money, right? And Ann has an answer to this question.
Hello, Ann Kilponen, Neighborhood Services Department. We have to see either an invoice for what they plan on purchasing, or they have to let us know, because we will be making the purchases on their behalf. So if there is alcohol, we're going to know about it prior to purchase, and so it would be up to the board to determine. I guess if you're prohibiting alcohol, then we would make sure at the time that they provided us with information about their purchase to let them know, and that would be included in the.
I know that we are actually looking at invoices before things are bought. Yeah. We can't enforce this prohibition, so let's go ahead. If that's what this board wants to do, let's go ahead and make it a condition, the prohibition. That way, Ann's people, when they're looking at the invoices or the agreements or whatever it is we're going to require of them before these things are purchased, we can make sure that we're not buying something that violates a condition of approval.
So, Madam Chair?
Yes.
There was a motion on the floor, correct?
No.
Oh, no one's made a motion yet?
No, we were waiting for you.
Okay, then.
There was a motion that was too broad, and so I advised that we should probably make another
We're
motion.
waiting for you.
Well, who was the original motion maker?
It was Mr. Whittingham talking about a blanket motion.
Giving him, if he wants to amend or withdraw?
No, it was not an appropriate motion, so there's no motion on the
Yes,
floor.
This is Board Member Whittingham. The attempt was to have a broad condition added to the allocation of funds, and I take advice from the City Council that it's not proper to make it a blanket, and so I think we're now left with the advice that individual members who are making motions to approve may consider the condition of prohibiting the use of funds for the purchase of alcohol per applicant.
Yes.
That's the motion.
So there's no motion. It's just this may be added as part of the discussion.
So for the board, an appropriate motion for these today would be something like this. I would move to grant Community Crusaders and the Meadows Neighborhood Association the amount of X dollars, period, or if we were thinking that we wanted to, if a member was thinking they wanted to prohibit the use of money for a purchase of alcohol, you would say, I move to approve the amount of X for Community Crusaders at Meadows Neighborhood Association, but with the condition that the use of any of these funds the use of any of these funds is prohibited for alcohol use. Something like that. But we need an amount of money, and if there's to be a prohibition of something, we need that as part of the motion as well. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Jim. Go ahead.
And so, Madam Chair, with your leave, I will move a motion that this board approve the fund as applied for $5,000 for the Community Crusade at the Meadows Neighborhood Association in the amount of $5,000 with the condition that none of that approved funds should be used for the purchase of alcoholic beverages.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All not in favor, say no.
No.
Thank you. Okay.
Member Flank.
Member Quinn? Oh, Flank.
Brenda Flank.
Okay, that motion passes with just one no, so there you have it. All right, moving on to number 5. This is a physical improvement to raise an alley wall. And me and Tanya have been over and over this wall so many times, I'm not even going to read it. The Duncan Court Homeowners Association is asking for $5,000 for physical improvement to raise the alley wall. They have come up with $2,875, and they are asking us for the $5,000. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, I open it up to our friends on the board. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm Matthew Tramp, Ward 1. Obviously, as one of the veteran members, I remember they came here last year requesting the grant. The job was incomplete, and so what they decided to do is break up the job and are trying to come back again and receive more money. So, like I said, I've had some objections because they did not follow the guidelines last year. What I am for, I won't make a motion yet until there's a discussion, is we did give them $5,000 last year. They did receive $2,634. As a compromise, I'm willing to give them the remaining $2,366, which makes up the difference from the $5,000 they were awarded last year. So,
is that your motion?
I'm not going to make a motion until I have discussions with other board members.
Okay. Thank you. Open up for discussion. Sir?
Member Beers, for the record, I do think that our last meeting there was a consensus that we are moving forward with the phase, like allowing, the phases to be completed versus just not accepting the application.
Yeah, Member Becker, I agree with Member Beers. I strongly believe that this is the kind of project that we should be funding as a board. This homeowners association is asking for money to improve their neighborhood, and without this grant, I don't believe they would be able to pay for this on their own. So I agree that this project, I was not here on the board last year, but I know that they asked for an amount of money and they were unclear about how much it was going to cost. So I view this project as they're going to be applying for it in phases, but each phase is one whole section of the wall. So I would like to see that us approve this, because I do not believe this particular association is going to be able to pay for this out of pocket, and so that is my opinion of this project.
Brian?
Member Hubble, for the record, I personally think that this is what the money should be used for. Like, these are important to the safety of the neighborhood. So I definitely am agreeing with, letting this move forward and granting them the money.
Member Tanya?
I agree. This is good. This is an improvement, and it's also safety. And if I remember correctly, they do have limited funds and probably can only get this done in phases. And since they've already started, it would be a shame to not give them the money to continue their project in phases, because I think they went back to planning to ask. So
Yeah,
that was
they've
what
done
we
that.
asked of them. And if they've done that, they've done the work, I would be in favor of
Are
giving
you ready
them
to
the
make a
money.
motion?
You want to make a motion? I make a motion to approve the application for Duncan Court Homeowners Association for, it's $5,000? $5,000.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, no.
No. Matthew Tramp, for the record, no.
Okay, that passes. Okay, we're moving on to the Elkhorn High Noon Homeowners Association asking for physical improvement solar streetlights. They came up with $6,948. They're asking for, the requested grant money is for $5,000. Again, this is where the lights and things would be solar powered and would go off when it was dark and on when somebody walked by. So this application, if you remember correctly, was all about safety. So is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this item? No? Okay, that closed to public comment, and then I'll look forward to my colleagues talking about it. Sir? Smile.
I'll come back and say, Member Tanya Jackson-Winter, I sort of went and looked at this company, and the type of lighting that they provide, it probably will not get the vandalism that a light will get if the sensor was lower. So just the fact that it's higher, I think it's more sustainable, and I would support it.
Thank you.
And I just had a question. I know that it's a local company, and that's great. Do we ask for the bids or a comparison of bids, I guess, just for clarification when there's going to be like a project like this?
This is Ann Kilponen with the Neighborhood Services Department. There is we do require a bid. There is no requirement that they obtain multiple bids, but the business is supposed to have a business license and in some cases a contractor's license as well.
Let me just be clear that this is neither a 330 NRS 332 purchase nor a 338 public work. This is a grant of money to a neighborhood association.
Thank you.
Member Becker, I motion to approve the recommendation to City Council to fund the Elkhorn High Noon Homeowners Association in the amount of $5,000.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, no. No, so that passes, and we'll go to City Council. Thank you very much. Moving on to Glen Heather Estates Neighborhood Association, Neighborhood Engagement. I don't think any of us will forget their beautiful presentation and how in-depth they went and how great it was. So they are matching $10,000, and they're asking for the requested amount of $5,000. So with that being said, do we have anybody? Member Flank? No? No? Okay. motion?
Okay, Matthew Tramp, Ward 1. I move for a motion to approve the Glen Heather Estates neighborhood for the amount of $5,000.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All in favor, not in favor, say no. Oh, okay, good. That was a nice one. Moving on to the Huntridge Neighborhood Association, neighborhood engagement. Now, this is a block party, vintage 40 parties with a carnival theme, and I'm sure people will be getting jack-knocked at that, just because I'm thinking they might. The party will be decorated in the 40s style, regardless of that stuff. They have come up with $4,851. They are asking for $4,637.39. And that, again, is the Huntridge Neighborhood Association requesting to have a vintage 40 party. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, I close the public comment and open it up to my friends and members.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Matthew Tramp, Ward 1. I will move a motion to approve the amount of, they're requesting $4,637.39 to the Hundreds Neighborhood Association with the since this does include a block party, we should include the restrictions of using funds to prohibit alcohol too.
Yeah.
I don't think I used the right quote, but I believe you understood.
With the condition.
Yeah, with the conditions of prohibiting funds being used to purchase alcohol, since this includes a block party.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All and not in favor, say no.
No.
Thank you. Moving right along to Jonas Park Neighborhood Association, physical improvements in neighborhood signage. This is all about signs. They've been working with City of Las Vegas Traffic Engineering to determine the proper signs and the proper locations. They have raised themselves $4,396. They're asking for the full amount of $5,000. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on that item? Seeing none, I close the public comment and open it up to the members.
Madam Chair, Member Petrilli, and this came up with another one as well, but I think we're a matching grant program, right? So we should not be granting more than they're actually putting in themselves. Am I correct on that, Ann?
No.
This is Ann Kilponen, Neighborhood Services Department. This is a grant program which requires a one-to-one match in terms of volunteer labor, in-kind donations, and cash. So I think that answers your question, does it not?
It almost does, and I think to summarize, it's not just a one-for-one cash match. So as long as if the grant is $5,000 and the neighborhood match is $43.96, as long as they've got $5,000 total in all different kinds of matching, we're okay. But I think you're correct to point out, if their application says everything they're matching is $43.96, that's the one-to-one match. And I completely understand your point. And I think what he's saying is they've asked for only $43.96, and that's all they're matching. And shouldn't we be only granting what they've matched on a one-to-one basis? The answer is yes.
I mean, I think that is the limitation.
I want to make sure our department is in agreement, because I don't want to speak for them.
This is Ann Kilponen with the Neighborhood Services Department. Yes, I mean, according to the program guidelines, the amount that is awarded should not exceed the match that the association is providing.
This is Member Becker for the record. I'm looking at their application online, and I apologize, I am not looking at the correct one. Let me, hold please. sorry, I do see that it only lists 4,396, so I guess we could match that amount. I'm going to look at this form real quick.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this item?
This is Member Alvarez. Just reminding the board that I'm abstaining from this item. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A question.
Yes.
This is Member Whittingham. A question for staff. This is a question for staff, Anne. Although they are the reported matching for 396, the requested amount is 5,000. Is there a case where between their application and the completion of the grant, they could have or would have made up the additional amount for the matching fund since they're asking for 5,000?
This is Ann Kilponen with Neighborhood Services. Following the meeting from June 5th, we did ask, because it was the board had requested that they look at opportunities to increase their match in order to receive the full funding. And they did submit some additional paperwork that raised the original match amount, but they did not have a, they provided what their board agreed upon in terms of an increase to their match, but it did not go up to the level of $5,000.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Member Becker again. I was actually looking at the right thing and the numbers didn't match, so I was confused. It does say that those signs, the graffiti-coated 79 double-sided signs, that vendor cost is listed at $4,977. And there's also an in-kind donation of $2,000, and they also have their sheet filled out with enough volunteer hours. So I don't know if this 4,396 number is incorrect, but the signs themselves almost cost $5,000.
Yeah.
So the advice from your lawyer is if they have indicated they're going to spend $5,000 in match, you can match that up to $5,000. So that's good news. I guess we should probably wait to get some clarification from the department. But yeah, if what you're saying, we have no reason to believe that you're not reading it correctly. So if it says on the application they're spending up to $5,000, then $5,000 is what you're allowed under the guidelines to give them.
It's not a matter of what this is Petrelli, Member Petrelli for the record. It's not a matter of what they're going to spend. It's a matter of what they're going to contribute. That's what we're matching to.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Spend and contribute.
Right. So if what was cited is, so the question then becomes: is the 4,342 an incorrect number that's on this sheet, and the correct number is being reflected in the what was read to us by Member Becker?
Yeah, I can't. As your lawyer, I can't tell you. We're going to have to wait for our department to verify that for us. And if we need some time, maybe we trail this one and we come back to it. I will say, though, that after having this discussion, I have gone back to look at the Duncan Court Homeowners Association. It looks like their neighborhood match is 2,875, and I think we approved 5,000 for them. So we may, if the board wants to revisit that one, after we're done with this one, you may think about revisiting that one.
Well, I think unfortunately we have no choice, right? I mean, we have to follow the program guidelines.
Absolutely, I agree.
Okay.
All right, with that, I'll be...
But Chairman, we are still on Elkhorn High Noon Homeowners Association, so we probably, for the clerk's sake...
John S. Park.
John S. Park, am I on the wrong page? Oh yeah, John S. Park, sorry. We're on John S. Park, thank you very much. So we should be clear about what we're doing, either making a motion and ending this one, or tabling it, holding it, trailing it, so we can find out if that number is the correct one. Or, but I know the clerk wants to keep a good record, a clear record. What should we do on this, Chairman? I think it's either trail, so we can give departments some time to verify the 4396, or we wait to make sure we get this correct.
I prefer trailing it.
Okay, so now just to make it even more confusing, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now that I've looked at Duncan Court Homeowners Association, and it appears their neighborhood match is 2875.20, I believe that we may have inadvertently approved 5,000, which would be above and beyond what they are matching. If we want to go back and revisit that, we are going to need a motion to reconsider.
And which one is that?
That is Duncan Court. So the motion would be, if we wanted to reconsider, would be for somebody that voted yes on the item, I move to reconsider Duncan Court Homeowners Association grant in the amount of $5,000. And you take a vote, and if we get a majority, then we revisit that one and take a new motion.
Okay, all in favor of revisiting Duncan Court, say aye.
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 Yeah. Who made the motion on? I think Vicki Quinn made the motion on that, Clerk.
No, I think Tanya did.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tanya. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Sounds like Tanya and Jackson Renner made the motion on that one to reconsider. And it sounds like we had a unanimous vote.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So should we hear it now?
So now I would just now you can reconsider Duncan Court Homeowners Association. The reason I asked you to reconsider is because their neighborhood match is 2,875.20. With that knowledge in mind, please continue.
Can I ask, Madam Chair? And this is Board Member Whittingham.
Bless you, baby.
And it's another question for the staff. If the asking amount is for 5,000, and the applicant has provided information to indicate that the cost for the project will be 5,000, even though they have less than 5,000 matching. Is it a case where staff would then ask between now and the length of the project, which is a year, to have them provide enough matching funds for the amount that they receive?
No, that's a very good question, Chairman. The answer is no. They need to put the match, whether it's cash or work, volunteer hours, on their application. We could have very easily rejected their application when they came in with too few match hours, and we did not. They came in 2 weeks ago. We told them they didn't have enough match. They still said, that's okay, we're going to move forward. We pled with them to come and meet with staff to add some more match so we could grant them more money, and apparently they didn't do so. So my advice to you would be, they've had a lot of chances to get that match up and they haven't done it. And so no, we can't just trust that they're going to come in later. You have to work off of, one, their application, and two, what they told us at the board meeting. I think Ann might have something to add to that, but that's my position. Or maybe she doesn't.
This is Ann Kilponen with Neighborhood Services Department. I think the attorney, Jim Lewis, summarized it well.
Okay.
Okay. Sir, you got your light on?
Sorry.
Anybody else? Are we ready for another motion on Duncan Court?
This is Member Becker. I make a motion to rescind the decision to approve the recommendation to City Council to fund the Duncan Park Homeowners Association in the amount of $5,000 and change the amount to $2,875.20.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All in favor that don't want to, say no.
No, nay. Matthew Tramp, nay.
No, okay.
Okay, Chairman, should we go back to John S. Park now? I think we're ready to tell you what we found.
Okay, we're revisiting John S. Park. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this item? I don't see anybody, so we'll close the public comment and we'll open it up to City Attorney Jim Lewis.
And I will pass it to Ann.
What? And passes it to Ann. Yay.
This is Ann Kilponen with the Neighborhood Services Department. We went back and double-checked the latest submission from the John S. Park Neighborhood Association, and we would like to confirm that the match that is on the applicant summary sheet of $4,396 is accurate according to the documentation submitted.
Okay.
Thank you, Ann. Anybody? Go ahead.
Member Becker, thank you, Ann. I'd like to make a motion to approve to City Council the amount of $4,396 for the John S. Park Neighborhood Association.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All in no favor, say no. Okay, everyone says yes, that passes. At this time, we're going to take a 5-minute break to use the restroom so the clerks can go, and be back here at 4:30.
It's at 4:30?
3:30, sorry,
Okay.
3:30.
Yeah. And we included higher that condition is because theater, block party, the October Fest.
I'll know your name before I
When we first make that motion to for Beverly Gardens, and the idea was that since we are ready, then it's not clear that we be consistent.
My problem is there's no enforcement.
Yeah.
Oktoberfest, we don't know that, I mean, I know what Oktoberfest is about.
Yes. And so,
But do we know that there, we would be speculating about what's gonna be at that party.
yeah, but
It's like we're speculating what's gonna be at this one.
well, the one mentioned specifically alcohol, but
It mentioned a park.
yeah, but well, the fact that they mentioned, and that's why I really thought that we went on rabbit hole when we first disapproved that. But for consistency, there's no Oktoberfest without alcohol, and so it may appear just reasonable.
For the record, City Clerk Matt Trent has to leave now, so to go to work, so he's gone. Thank you. All right, we are back. We're back, and we are at Lakeside Village, AKA Lakeside at Brookview Homeowners Association. Eligibility category states public safety and physical improvements to enhance neighborhood engagement to the common areas. They have raised $5,002.15, and they're looking to get $4,672. Is there anybody here to speak on this item? Seeing none, I open it up to my members for a motion or a comment.
I make a motion to approve Lakeside Village.
A motion's on the floor for approval for Lakeside Village. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All want no, say no.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, Chair, what was the dollar amount on that?
The dollar amount was $4,672.33 that they requested, and the amount that they matched with was $5,002.15.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetheart. Okay, moving on to the next one, Rainbow Family Park Neighborhood Association and Neighborhood Engagement and Public Safety. Now, this one, again, has the taco truck whipping in there. They're going to have ice cream. They're going to do door prizes, door games, which include ring alarm, flashlights for their gifts and stuff like that. So, doesn't say anything about alcohol here. That's at our discretion. So with that being said, is there anybody here to speak on the item? Seeing none, opening it up to the board members. Brian.
I was just curious, like the ring alarm systems as prizes, is that an issue, like $1,000? I mean, I don't know. I guess how do we know the honesty of these people getting the money? Like, is that a concern at all about ring systems being a consolation prize?
Chairman, if I can speak to this for a moment. This is Jim Lewis, the City Attorney's Office. Okay, so that's a fair question. I would say that, again, we look to the program guidelines to see if it's a prohibited item or not. I think in this case, door prizes are probably something within your discretion.
Donate.
The fact of the matter is, it doesn't appear that this is specifically prohibited, but I suppose one could argue that it is. So again, because because the guidelines are ambiguous to this point, it's going to be a decision made by this board within its discretion.
Jim,
Did I explain that, or have I lost some folks? Because I want to explain this one explicitly if I've lost some folks.
You didn't lose me, so that's probably, you didn't lose anybody.
Sorry.
No, like I'm not lost. I mean, that makes sense. I guess the way I look at it is everyone's supposed to benefit from this money, and I feel like if there's going to be 2 or 3 prizes, not everyone is benefiting from this money. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, totally understandable, and that's absolutely one argument. Just so I can present the other argument. The other argument would be that under types of projects not eligible, it says projects benefiting an individual or individual property only. Projects do not benefit the majority of neighborhood residents. So your argument is an argument, not your argument, but an argument is these door prizes benefited an individual person, therefore they may not be eligible under our program, which is a fair argument. The other argument would be they're not asking for us to pay for door prizes only. The project is, in fact, the party, and the door prizes are just part of the party. So I think by presenting both arguments to you, again, sorry, you guys get to decide what it is you want to do. But fair point made.
This is Board Member Whittingham. If I may add to the discussion on this, while I understand the point that my colleague is making, There's nothing in the application that I've read to suggest that any of the money will be used or exclusively used for the ring alarm system. They have already raised $6,199 that they're going to contribute to. And so it may very well be that the ring alarm door prize may either be donated or may be funded from other source funding that they have. And so, I think for us to use that as a basis to deny may be lacking the sufficient information to make that decision at this point.
Member Tanya.
Member Jackson Renter, I sort of see the ring alarms as a tool to just draw neighbors to the party. It looks like it says it's over, when you look at it, it says 2,000 residents. Sometimes it's like dangling a carrot, to get participation. And I think it's a great opportunity, because it's not like saying it's like dinner at Morton's or something like that. This is saying that we have this safety tool. So I don't really see it as like a one-off to a resident.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Yeah.
Tanya, this is Member Petrelli. I'd agree with you on that. I think it's just a feature to attract people to the event, and everybody has an equal opportunity to win that prize as well.
Yeah.
So.
This is Brian Hubble for the record. No, I agree with that. That's where the honesty part comes in. Like, I want everyone to actually have an equal opportunity to getting this prize.
And so this is Board Member Whittingham moving this board to grant the approval of $5,000 to the Rainbow Farmer Park Coalition.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in not favor, say no. Noes. Okay, ayes pass, and that'll go on to City Council. Moving on to, we're already at Tanglewood, wow. Tanglewood Homeowners Association, physical improvement to beautify the neighborhood's entryway, which, if you remember correctly, they had pictures before and after, and they did a beautiful presentation. So I will be supporting this item. Anybody here in the public that would like to speak? I see none. I'll open it up to the members. Thank you.
This is Member Becker. I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommendation to City Council to fund Tanglewood Homeowners Association in the amount of $4,255.
Perfect. All in favor, say aye.
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 And any noes? No. Moving on to citizens' participation, public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the board. No subject may be acted upon
We have
by...
two more, don't we?
We do?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed them?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I was jumping the gun.
Yeah, Chairman, there's two more on the back of that page, West Mason,
I
Willowdale.
kind of felt like there was a hockey game, so I was getting nervous that I was going to, I was like, holy God.
No, the Golden Knights
I'm
took it all.
watching
We're
my
good.
clock. Okay, moving on to the last two, which is the first one would be West Mesa Estates Coalition Neighborhood Physical Improvement to Neighborhood Signage. They have raised $5,202.15. They're asking for $2,843.93, and the minimum grant amount is $1,421.98. So nobody here to speak on that. I'll close the meeting and open it up to members only. Sir? Anybody?
Yeah, this is Member Becker. I remember when this grant application was presented to us. So this group had like 3 phases, and they were planning to pay for actually a large portion, and are only asking for $2,843. And we had discussed, are we able to give them more money than they're asking for? Because their solution 3, something else that they presented but didn't ask money for, I thought was worth our money as well. So I just wanted to ask on the record, are we allowed to give them more money than they are asking for? Because they presented some things that they did not ask to be covered.
Below the matching amount.
Yes, exactly.
Equal to all.
Ann?
This is Ann Kilponen with the Neighborhood Services Department, and they did not include that as part of their application, and so they've provided estimates for what they think the cost will be for the project that they have in mind as part of the application. So the board should focus on the project that they have submitted.
And I would think, Ann, that's a really good answer. I would just add that we don't normally give folks money they're not asking for. And I don't mean that in a flippant way. I mean that in a serious way. They ask for an amount of money, and so in order to have other money for other folks, we usually give them the amount requested if that's what the board wants to do.
Member Becker, thank you for that. I just wanted to give them kudos for being judicious and going through and asking only for the amount they needed. I really appreciated that because they obviously know exactly what they want to do, and they have a lot of people giving their own money to this project in their neighborhood. And I would like to make a motion to approve the recommendation to City Council to fund the West Mesa Estates Coalition Neighborhood Association in the amount they asked for, $2,843.95.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All in not favor, say no. So nobody said no, so everybody, that passes. That will go to City Hall. And now we are at Willowdale Park Public Safety Project. They have raised $5,031.60. They're asking for $5,000, and we are giving them $4,000. If somebody wants to, is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this item?
No, they've asked for 5,000.
Yeah. They raised 5,000, they're asking for 5. Right, okay. Anybody wish to speak on
Madam
this?
Chairman, I have a question for Ann. I think at the June 5th meeting, we asked them to clarify their application as to the nature of that $5,031 of neighborhood match, and because they suggested they were going to come out of pocket out of their reserve funds. This is a homeowners association, not a neighborhood association. Did they ever come back and stipulate whether or not they would be putting cash in this project, or is that still volunteer time? I think the issue I raised was that much of that volunteer time was designated as board meetings, which is just normal course of business.
They were, this is Ann Kilponen with the Neighborhood Services Department. They were asked to clarify their match and did submit additional paperwork with additional explanation in terms of what the volunteer activities would be. This is Ann Kilponen with the Neighborhood Services Department again. They were considered sufficient on the part of staff to include to update the neighborhood match on the amended applicant summary form.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion down there?
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Yeah, I think so.
I make a motion to approve the $5,000 requested by the Willow Park Association, Homeowners Association, set forth in their application.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All say no, no, no no's. Okay, and that passes as well. Moving on to citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. No subject may be acted upon by the board unless that the subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward, give your name for the record. The amount of discussion any single person has, time will be, any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Seeing none, I close the meeting with a big adjourn.
Hey, Chairman, real quick, thank you to everybody for spending your hard-earned, or your hard time with us. We
Jim, I'd
appreciate
like-
having you guys down here.